foil for you. All right, well, okay. Can we talk about that briefly? Because London did try a couple of different things. We also saw some teams in APAC, last couple of days try to not be forced into Jotes with some really
that doesn't really
questionable
work, but
results.
sure. Yeah. I mean,
so okay, but why? Can we talk a little bit about the Spitfire? Because there are actually a couple points that speak in your favor. I just want to see if you've done your homework or if you just make stuff up.
Well, look, I mean, we kind of look at the Houston Outlaws as a whole right now, right? We were talking a little bit, like you were asking, like, did Doge play? How it's left? Like, we've seen Doge and Dante both play the Junker Queen. Right. They almost got reverse swept. I think people thought that New York maybe was like a bit better than what they were, especially after like yesterday's game. They were like pretty tragic. So I think they're kind of like hard to gauge. I think the biggest thing for this is like, has London leveled up their Junker Queen kind of GOATs play within the last like week or so?
Because they tried to mix in the Ryan and the May a little bit at times, and obviously that had some limited success. So I think this team may be definitely working on a couple of things. They're probably on the back burner for the time being. But there are definitely some things to look forward to in this particular matchup. Obviously, this is it's Admiral's time to hit the field once more. Obviously, I think looking at the Sojourn head-to-head, or at least the sort of hit scan DPS head-to-head, is big because we talk so much about Merit. We will in a moment, but Sparker actually outdoes Merit in final blows, railgun kills, accuracy, and lower depths. We spend so much time talking about Merit's Sojourn, but Sparker really quite frightening on that pick for the same reason. We got to see that as well on the previous tournament stage.
Yeah, they also signed Khan. Don't know if we'll see him here today. Not in the starting lineup, but I would say that fills up a hole, right, where you were worried about their Zenyatta play. They had to put Backbone in the support line. Yeah, whatever you want to call him. It was Backbone. They had to put him there.
Wow,
it was him.
The veil's been removed on this whole thing. I never look at it the same way.
Hopefully nobody was being tricked, same person. But this meta, they don't have to play that, right? They don't have to play the Zenyatta. Like, the Zenyatta's
unless you're Florida or New York. Because they did try that a little bit, right? Especially on like Gibraltar defensive setups, but probably not something this team wants to go for.
I like the Khan signing, though, for like later in the season, right? Like, if you're going to have like a Zenyatta meta kind of sneak up yet again. Take a look at the Outlaws starting lineup today. It'll be Dante in to kick things off. In the tank role, I think probably still figuring out how you kind of work around, both. It's kind of weird to say like Dante is like a tank now, but effectively like this year he really kind of has been just a tank.
Right.
How you fit, work around who's going to play what in terms of the tank role, right? Who's going to play where and whatnot. And you have Lep and Lastro there as support line.
Yeah, look, I've been really impressed with Lastro so far on the Brigitte, right? I mean, this is a player we knew as being a main support, a Lucio player. We were first impressed by his move over towards some of those more what we consider flex supports, right? Showing, really great play on the Zen specifically, and now on the Brigitte, he's topping healing and uptime for Inspire after that first week. Now, in fairness, that 5 mapper against the Gladiators, a lot of head-to-head fighting. Lastros had a lot of uptime in general, just fighting amongst the pack here, but it's a good sign so far for a player who's been called on to step into multiple support roles, and that's what you need for the Outlaws here. You have a rock-solid core to rely on, and again, they're looking to bounce back after look, I would say unexpected loss for them up against New York, especially after New York just got fed to the Titans. So Outlaws expected to continue to look strong here as we still wonder what the Spitfire have been working on.
I would also say something to keep an eye on. Yesterday, we saw the Dallas Fuel and the Defiant, right? Where the Defiant ran the Ash, like a lot of the maps, like pretty much the entire time. And with some of the maps, it definitely gave the Dallas Fuel some trouble. If you see the Ash start to creep in on some of these maps that have maybe like a little bit longer sight lines, and how that impacts some of these teams if they're going to try and run it as well.
Yeah, well, obviously the Dynamite creates a lot of extra heal pressure, right? In competitions where you don't have a lot of burst available to you, but between the Lucio and the Brigand, you don't want to pop the shout for, just incidental healing. You need to be involved there. So
it's just a one-shot capability.
Connect those. Yeah, obviously that has an impact as well if like your healers aren't ready.
Sojourn, yeah.
Yeah, it is that railgun that can be a difference maker, and it's why a lot of people maybe prefer to see the Sojourn outside of like high ground defensive scenarios. Both have zoning tools, right? It's more that once you hit with the Dynamite, you can't just walk out of some radius. You are going to be ticking with that healing, which is really annoying for like non-Ana or non-Moira, non-Baptiste healers to deal with because it's just consistent tick damage. Here we go though.
I also find this to be like a little bit of a prove-it stage for the London Spitfire, right?
Yeah.
We know they can do it in that Reinhardt matchups. They can force that on teams when, you know, the meta seems a little bit more open, but you kind of get into a meta like this where, you know, barring some, you know, shenanigans in APAC, right? Everybody's pretty much playing the same thing. Can you win in this like head-to-head matchups against some of these teams? I think it really kind of solidifies if London's going to be the real deal for the rest of the season or not.
No doubt about it. Shard already comes out here early now as the Outlaws posture in towards the middle of the map a little more. Merritt, oh, he gets chased down. He takes a big hit, and Spark is actually able to finish the job with that railgun here. A great opening for the London Spitfire, and now they can play with a little bit more aggression. Dante's not getting out alive here. Shout for him, but it's going to be a Wilhelm scream as he heads back to spawn.
And you think the London Spitfire should be good at a composition like this, right? That wants to play a little bit more closer together, wants to kind of brawl it out. Obviously just a little bit different than like the Reinhardt-based compositions. I feel like the fights here go a little bit more extended than that, just with the amount of like healing and just AoE healing in general. But it'll be the London Spitfire. They take that first fight. This one, obviously, you know, a very difficult point to take back. Should be able to get a lot of percentage here.
Yeah, this Merritt versus Sparker matchup should be, for any sort of well-read DPS fan, should be fascinating to see how it plays out here. And peel there from Admiral. Landon, though, a little bit low. His backbone's also forced to peel off to that right-hand side now. Shout from the Outlaws as they want to engage, but it's going to be the sound barrier in for Admiral. And Lastro's already fallen here. Everyone pushing up. Out towards the side, you can see that Merritt was hoping for a bit of an angle by the roadside, but he finds nothing. Only gets Sparker in the end. It's not nearly enough.
And it's so interesting because Hottie goes over to the side up on that staircase, right? And the Outlaws think they have him separated, and they basically use everything imaginable to try and get to Hottie. And they just sound barrier on the other side of the London Spitfire. Keep him alive, and then everybody now has their back turned to everybody else kind of flooding in there from London. They're able to take that fight as they've looked good. I was, you know, joking around, but I was actually really surprised that everybody went with the Outlaws in this series. Thought it was going to be way closer coming in.
Well, Backbone pulls a blade there, and he gets the response he wanted. The sound barrier comes out from Lemp, he acquiesces, and now Pelican look to try and pressure his way in on that left-hand side. Sparker doing much the same here with that overclock. Here comes the shout, rallies from both sides now as the Outlaws want to come forward here. The Spitfire are still ticking up in that capture progress. And Pelican's able to get a bit of a health pack now, so he'll deflect, stay around that left-hand side, but it's Pelican to fall first there with a deflect burn. It looks like the Spitfire are ready to engage, and now a 97%. They're really just happy to sit back. It's the Outlaws that have to make the play and have to do it undermanned. Here's Hardy, Rampage comes through, but Hardy was already anti-healed before he dived in. Still a huge connection on the Outlaws, though, and Sparker and Backbone finding 3 between them.
Yeah, I mean, Hardy connects with, I think, 3 or 4 players there. With his Rampage is a dominant performance there from the London Spitfire in our first round. The Outlaws never really got anything going. And something we've been talking about a little bit, Mitch, since you're hanging out at the beach and whatnot. Like when you get 2 of these teams, I remember like GOATs where if you got a team that was just way better on the day or just way better in general, like a lot of those matches were like blowouts, right? Like yesterday, I think we had like in the West, like 2 3-0s and a 3-1. Like the series was light.
Skill differentials tend to blow out a lot more in
Yes.
a meta like this. Yeah, absolutely. I've got to say, the credit Hardy, he actually gets rampaged first by Dante. Despite the fact that he's anti-healed, he still goes for it. And he gets like 4 people with it, just setting up the rest of his team.
So we get a May here for the London Spitfire.
Yep.
I think if you're London, whether they've kind of messed around with like saying like they're gonna like try and play some Reinhardt stuff, like I think Queen is just so strong that if you can't like make it work like playing the exact comp that the Outlaws are, you have to just try and play maybe variations of it, right? Where like May has always like even been like historically pretty good on this point. Can you run the May in combination with this and make it work? Thus far, everyone just going off here on the May in close quarters, make it difficult for anything to go on as be the Spitfire point again.
I think it's important to point out that the idea of May walling people off and creating that spacing, creating that isolation is a very meta-agnostic concept, right? It doesn't really matter if there's a Junker Queen in the mix or not. If you can catch a Genji like he did there and just throw a wall up, slow him up, a player advantage in this metagame is worth so much more.
And you think how we talk about how these fights are just so long with like the sustain that goes on. Now you throw a May in the mix, right? Who's got a ice block, a large HP pool where That'll be Merit who takes out Admiral first. This is the first time that the Outlaws have started off a fight with that first kill.
Sparker really trying to hope to create a pick there while they were a player down, but it wasn't forthcoming here. So the Outlaws will steamroll through pretty comfortably here. It's worthwhile pointing out there won't be a particular sound barrier advantage for either side. That's what really hurt the Outlaws in that previous round there, losing, thinking that they had Hardy, when in reality, Admiral turned the tables.
And I think you're going to need to see that from Merit pretty consistently if the Outlaws are going to win this series, right? Getting those first picks on the Sojourn is so impactful, especially, I know, if the Spitfire are going to play like this, right? Go for something that's really investing in that brawl, right? Like, not a lot of fast kill potential, not like, you know, the Genji dashing through everybody, whatnot. Is Dante in a tough spot here.
No way he's getting away. The wall is perfect. Lastro can't line of sight to get any heal packs. So the Junker Queen, even with her own shout, she has to shout for owning herself and she still gets brought down, which basically ends the fight.
Also think about the Junker Queen like hitbox, right? And now Backbone is in the Junker Queen's face, right? With his own Junker Queen, slowing her down, and then Sparker is just firing bullets in and then just has to hit a rail to a slow tank who has like a pretty large hitbox. So makes it really difficult for Dante, as it'll be support ultimates for both sides online there. Just the Blizzard invested from the Spitfire.
All right, here's the rally straight away. Soundberry gets used at the same time. So both teams going to go for all of those ultimates here. So going to be a little while before we see any eliminations here. Lastro's seeing better days, though. He's caught inside that close quarters area, and Hardy is going to chop them up.
So there was no Mei wall in place there, right? Because Backbone had used the Mei wall at the choke, but when they went in and fought towards that side area there with the two exitways, he actually just ice blocks in the middle of one of the doorways and just body blocks for that extended period of time, and they can't get out. That's how the Lastro and Dante got stuck in there. Really nice play. I mean, you can't break the ice block, right? The ice block's impenetrable.
Sparker then back to the point. Points out Dante, of course, who's getting close to that rampage. Hardy has one of his own. You'll notice the Spitfire want to play around the main and inside the right-hand side room for the time being. Oh, there it is. Astro was a sitting duck. Dante now sheepishly going to try and get away. And sure, the Outlaws might be able to back away for a time. Hardy wanted to chase, though, when he got what he came for, running down Dante. After that rampage came through, and Sparker now keeps shooting his left. Will want to try and keep the point going. It'll be tough for him to stay alive, and he gets eliminated pretty much as soon as his feet touch the ground.
I mean, outside of that one fight, the Outlaws end up winning. It is all London Spitfire. And I tell you what, Mitch, after that rant I went on, we were talking to the desk, somebody tweeted me. They were like, if all those predictions come through, I will get a tattoo of X on my back. You better start booking that appointment now. London Spitfire looking good here, kicking things off.
Which rant was it? Was it about the sports players that we did?
Yeah, I think I'd have to get everything right. Which to be honest, a few of those are unlikely. The London Spitfire probably the most likely out of all of them.
This is just a classic Matt Morello multi. Yep, yeah, we've seen that plenty. Okay, the London Spitfire starts strong. The little May tweak there from Backbone looks to be impactful. And the Outlaws are sluggish out the gates, to be sure. The Overwatch League is coming to Toronto. The Defiant are hosting Canada's first ever Overwatch League tournament. They might actually be there, by the way. Presented by Bell at Mattamy Athletic Centre, September 8th to 11th. Experience Esports live and come join the party, featuring a fan activation zone, Overwatch 2 free play, and your boy! He's gonna be there! Probably, unless I get deported, because anyone rolled my visa, but after 3 weeks, you'd think that would be fun. All right, I'm good. All right, we're back. Okay. Anyway, come check us out in Toronto. It's gonna be good times. Matthew, look, a little bit of a tweak there for the London Spitfire, bringing the May in, but Hardy was, oh man, he was hot to try in that round.
Yeah, Hardy was on point. Didn't have to put him on the Reinhardt today. I think the Reinhardt just plays really poorly into these types of comms, so if he can start to really master this Junker Queen, could be another good tournament for the London Spitfire. I also gotta say, I'm super excited for Toronto. I love going to Toronto. I've been a few times, done some Call of Duty stuff up there. Always super fun.
It will be my first time. In
really?
Toronto, actually, so.
You're missing out. I love Toronto.
You said actually, I remember it previously in that round, you're sort of mentioning how important sort of those first picks from Sparker would be, and there were actually quite a few of them here.
Yeah.
But the May, look, a bit of a variation, and the reason why we're going to spend some time on this is because a lot of teams are not really deviating from their standard Jote setup here. But look, it wasn't like reinventing the wheel. The May play was just really solid, and the maps really catered to that May wall usage there in that last round.
The map did, yes. I think that is like the success of that is entirely map dependent. Like right there, that's a great opportunity to pull it out. Now, as we go into the next map with a lot of high ground, probably not the right opportunity to bring that one out. You look at Dorado, right? Dorado, lots of high ground. Yeah. You can't really run it there, right? I think you're going to see probably, the Genji v Genji set up for at least the next two maps.
Yeah, Paraíso obviously a little bit harder to make use of these small corridors. Obviously a good point there, but the London Spitfire have also shown to be pretty resilient when it comes to that standard GOAT setup. I've got to say, Admiral had a fantastic reactive sound barrier in that sort of city center fight on Oasis to protect Hardy, and the Outlaws were essentially shut out of the round then. So even on the fundamental level, the Spitfire are looking good, and like you said, Matt, you're a little shocked that no one on the desk really sort of picked London to take this, especially how, weird the Outlaws looked against New York here, but you're starting to see a little bit of a shift in the balance of power here.
Yeah, I think this would be interesting from the Outlaws, and not the Pelican Widowmaker. I don't think Widow we've seen we've seen a little bit, but not really run to great effect. I think the Ashe could be interesting here, right? A little bit longer sightline, some high ground. I would actually say it makes more sense a little bit on defense, right? I don't really think it makes that much sense on the attack, but maybe we see the Ashe come out from merit, whether it's offense or defense. Right now, still hovering. It'll be Sparker on the Sojourn on D.
So Widow's,
you probably just a shot and then a swap, yeah.
You can punish Sojourn trying to go for a cute little sort of slide in and jump with Widow. Yeah, fine.
They're on the Ashe on offense.
Here.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there are some maps where the Ashe plays maybe a bit better than the Sojourn, and some longer sight lines here. It's a possibility.
I think Merit's hoping to punish a drop down for the Spitfire because his angle's really sharp. You see where he's playing here on this low ground. Maybe you want to try and punish the high ground, that left side room with some dynamite, but Merit is actually... You see where he's trying to get that dynamite off here. Now Dante's managed to wrap around. This is going to have to provoke a response from the Spitfire, and Sparker's not able to connect that first rail. He is aware of Pelican trying to make a flank here, but essentially, Sparker have been out of the fight for the start of it here.
It's really odd, though, that the Outlaws have kind of backed themselves into this corner. They backed themselves into the corner, so you do get a trade. The Genji swap for both sides is the Outlaws kind of playing from position of power on the point.
Yeah, Spark at least able to take some high ground here and throw that Disruptor shot into the back hand corner. Yeah, the Outlaws are also so durable, it's going to take a lot of effort to shift them off here. So Spitfire eventually, that's what we're looking for. Some burst damage, a burst elimination, one that can't be healed up or covered over with that overshield. Now we start to see the Spitfire play a little bit more aggressively. Sparker slides forward and we get the cleanup. It's 45% for the Outlaws on that point A.
Yeah, Lasher from the top rope just came flying around the corner. It looked like maybe he had that's kind of what it looks like if Hardy actually connects a knife and grips him out towards. So maybe he actually had the knife in him and kind of went around the corner real quick and then gripped him out. But sets up a nice shot there for Sparker to land. I think as well the overclock, obviously if they'll nail the shots here, but probably a little bit more impactful than the Bob. Although you could send Bob straight to the point. There's a lot of open sight lines there.
A lot of chip damage on Outlaws here. Forces the shout from Dante early on, which is fine. But Admiral and Landon both have those support ultimates online here. So if the Outlaws try and engage hard in the next 30 seconds, it'll go against them. Here they go anyway. Left pretty low. Lastro gets it running online. He won't use it. That's maybe the correct decision. There will be a shout from Dante, but Backbone's already managed to
They use the Bob in their spawn too. So like how I was talking about, the Bob maybe like makes a difference on the point. They almost like use Bob defensively and get absolutely nothing. As you would think, right? I mean, I think the Sojourn just is able to get through that choke a bit easier, right? With the the slide and then the jump, a little bit more speed, but looks like we're going to stay on the Ashe for now, as it'll be double support ults for the Outlaws coming in, right? So a slight advantage, but everything available here pretty much else for the London Spitfire.
It's hard for an attacking Sojourn to get rail charge, I think, is maybe half the problem. And why you want to play the Ashe. Good sound barrier timing there. That comes in response to Backbone's blade being drawn. Admiral still has one up his sleeve. Here it is. That's going to be 5 players caught with the Rampage now. A sound barrier to follow it up here for the London Spitfire, and they've got everything they need. Merit gets run down, and the Spitfire get the perfect little combo, but Pelican, that's so nasty. A huge anti-heal came through there, and Pelican dashes up. He's found 3. Blade drawn here. Hardy already gone down, and Pelican for 4 in the fight. What a turnaround for the Outlaws.
I mean, that looked like it was going to swing heavily in favor of London until Pelican decided to extend this game, as pulls out the blade, swings through about 4 players there.
That. You get 5 players. Look at the anti-heal from Dante's Rampage. That's what sets us up. Look how long.
Oh, just one dash and maybe he didn't even need the blade, right? With how topped up the teammates were after that, but man, that dasher connects at 3. That's nasty.
One of the most unlikely turnarounds based on sort of the game state after Hardy charges in. 5 players anti-heal and you're ready to go. It's great response. And they had a sound barrier as well. Maybe Admiral used it too early.
Possibly. This is where I think the Ashe on defense would be interesting, right? Where you have all of this high ground. Like, look at the top of the buildings, right? Being able to control some of this. Like, Ashe is quite devastating when you can get some of that high ground control.
I'm going to be honest. Better looks here for the Outlaws. At least that last fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Reactive play now. It's going to see left getting close to the next sound barrier. Overclock on deck here for Sparker. The Spitfire do give a little bit of progress to the Outlaws, but Merit's very low, and Spark has the perfect vantage point. He connects both of those ultimate shots on Merit, crucially. Now the Outlaws now sent packing. Very healthy Spitfire, more than happy to keep the pressure on.
A nice boop there by Let. Knocking Spark right out of the way. Maybe he gets around the corner, hits a rail shot there. You can see more collapse coming in from London, but allows Houston to regroup a bit here. Minute 38 on the clock. Maybe you go fast here if you're London with the rally, right? Try and close this gap.
We're walking into a sound barrier is the issue. Bob will also be up, which is crucial. Blade coming out from Backbone now. Who's he looking for? He's found Merit pretty early on, but it's going to be a 4v4 as Sparker had fallen already. And yeah, that sound barrier from Lep is what the Spitfire were at great risk of running into. They're still going to go for it though. Here's the rally just in time to keep Lep standing. It's going to be a shout from Dante. A timely one at that, as Backbone was still threatening, but the Spitfire will be bounced back once more.
But can you fight this again, though? Backbone gets out. Admiral's going to be coming back. You're going to be so close towards a sound barrier.
It'll be close.
Can you make a last stand here? Worst case, you get some other ultimates out of the Outlaws. As, the cart goes
Hardy
right towards the finish line.
Dante has Rampage available. Sound barrier had to be used for the Spitfire to have a chance even in this fight, and that's mostly expired now. Pelican lines them up. Blade finds 2 here, and despite Backbone and Landon's best efforts, it's going to be another Outlaws win. And now maybe you don't feel bad about London challenging that, man, if they don't sort of open with the sound barrier, but they definitely felt like they could have won there.
I still feel like it's a little bit of a win, though. Like, because you trade your sound barrier for what? Blade, Bob, and their beat on the other side, right? Really, you kind of trade like 1 ult for 2, 3. You still feel like that's a pretty good spot there for the London Spitfire, but seems like Pelican's starting to come online, right? Like every time we see him use these blades, at least here in the first half, it's been really good.
Well, he's timing the blade pretty well against the sound barrier of Admiral. He's waiting sort of like 2 to 3 seconds after beat before even pulling the blade, generally. So he's actually managing to time. The Spitfire had to start the fight with a beat. They couldn't use it reactively because of blade, and that's what puts them at a disadvantage against the Genji and on the stake there.
Hardy
Rampage is ready.
Rampage here, yeah.
Yep. shout already come out from the Outlaws. Oh, here we go. Two connected with Dante and Merit. Crucially going to be hit harder. The only one going to suffer the crackback, but it's enough for Sparker to follow up. Merit's going to be removed. It's going to be the Spitfire able to hold up here on defense. And again, a pretty underwhelming rampage from Dante, only finding Hardy.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, right? You have to kind of try and fight around this corner. You know that you're playing against the clock at this point. You've depleted some ultimates in that previous fight just to get the cart going. And, you know, the backstop of the map completion there, London's not in any type of urgency to use tons of other ults, right? So, have to make something out of these situations if you're the Outlaws.
But it puts us at support ult parity now, whereas Lep and Admiral previously were out of phase in those sound barriers. Now they're basically ready at the same time. Okay, starting with the blade here. Backbone forces. Lep's going to barrier late. That's actually really nice timing. Backbone can't do anything there. He's going to get booted by Lastro. And the Outlaws have a chance to make something happen here with 11 seconds left in the round. Late beat from Admiral after they already lost Backbone, rather. And Landon's able to find Dante, crucially. Still, the Outlaws have no choice but to go here. Pelican looking for purchase. They're going to be on the cart here, but from the high ground is going to come that overclock. Sparker has the perfect vantage point now, and he opts to give it up in favor of getting close and personal here with Lep. He'll eventually find the finish, but Bob's now going to be on the scene. Sparker having to play left around that corner to avoid that pressure. But it's decent for the Outlaws. It allows them to approach. Now without Bob, though, there has to be a plan B. And so far that involves Lastro having to shield bash through and disrupt the shot. But again, Admiral, Mero with a key pick off here. Lastro eventually goes down, but he was going to be sacrificed to keep the round going anyway. And Pelicans found Sparker. That's a huge pick off here. Dante can survive. It'll be crucial, but no, eventually it's going to be too much for him to hold up through. And the London Spitfire will be the last one standing here.
And it was a bit concerning when you saw London. You were like, oh, why would they use the sound barrier up there on the high ground? They had Dante low. Maybe Dante thought that there was going to be no sound barrier used there and you were going to be able to fight it for a little bit longer. There was no sense of urgency, right, where the sound barrier was going to come in. He was going to be in big trouble and get ran down. But they end up popping the sound barrier up there, taking him out. And that kind of, like, kills are just being traded pretty much for the rest of the game at that point. But that one was huge there to give London Spitfire their hold. Thought Pelican played really good there in the first half for the Outlaws. You saw Merit. It's interesting. You saw, like, towards the end, like, one of that final fights, he gets that first, like, he gets a kill in it. And then you can see it from the POV. I don't know who you were watching from the first person, but it's like 3 players from London just get in his face and run him down. I think he actually ended up, like, dying to his own, whether it's, like, dynamite, tick damage or something, like, probably dropping it. They probably dropped the dynamite at his feet, knowing he was going to die, and just shot it to kill people coming on in. Yeah, let's take a look here. How does that actually happen? Yeah, it is the dynamite at his feet. Yeah.
The brick shield there. And he does end up shooting it.
And he does some ticking damage, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's in a tough spot either way. I think Merit can make better use of the Ashe here on defense. This is where I thought you would see more of the Ashe play.
Yeah. Like I said before, I think the only reason maybe why he prefers not to take Sojourn on the attack there is because the attackers aren't really standing out in the open. They play, you know, they peek the corner on that high ground and don't give you consistent rail charge. Probably a little frustrating as Sojourn, and then you're forced to play aggressive to get damage. You know, probably not a great situation, so. Ashe here, both sides from Merit, one of our most prolific Sojourn players from the previous tournament. So if he's making the switch, makes you wonder.
Okay.
Nicely done from Backbone there. Not normally the one called up to take that role, but again, it'll grapple up on the Widow, and that's a great start.
Now, will that result in anything? We'll find out. But it just takes a while for the offense to get through this choke that you probably have Merit back. Oh, okay, here we go.
Now we're cooking with gas, Matthew. Pelican taken down, Dante with no support remaining, and the swing of the axe not connecting. What a great opener. And again, Merit doesn't really have a lot of mobility outside of Coach Gun, so it's a long walk back from spawn after getting picked.
You almost couldn't, like, you couldn't write a better start there for the London Spitfire with Backbone, who, I mean, how many times have we seen Backbone play Widowmaker throughout the season? Like, that may be it, like a few seconds here and there. Just with a headshot, right? Merit strafes right into his crosshairs, and you've unlocked that payload now with 5 minutes plus. You got Merit again here.
Oh, man, what a punish. Just one shot's all you need, and that's why so many teams preferring the Sojourn in that slot. Cart's going to be on the move here, Hardy with a shout. The Outlaws probably a little bit unsure about how to proceed here, lacking their key damage dealer. Merit switched over to Sojourn here, man. Oh, nasty. That's a problem.
These staggers have been insane too, like,
yeah, it's environmental kill. CC right there.
Well, the Outlaws haven't given them, like, So on offense, when we saw kind of like the head-to-head fights, the Outlaws they were obviously hanging in there like a good team would. On this round though, they haven't given themselves the opportunity, right? You lose Merit, then as he's coming back, you lose Lep, then you lose the fight, then you lose Merit at the start of the next fight, then you have some environmental kills as he's coming back. Like, they haven't given themselves an opportunity to fight well here.
Have no ults. That's going to hurt them here when the blade comes calling. Backbone hunting. Lep might have been the target, but looks like forcing him back was going to be more than enough for Backbone. Here's the sound barrier coming a little bit later, and Dante's already been felled. It's a 5v4, and the Spitfire are looking so good, so much better, in fact. Merit forced to his knees here after he finds that one elimination, but that's really all she wrote for the Outlaws. A very, very slow showing from Houston today.
5 minutes and 30 seconds here for the final part of the map. You don't even need the completion. Is really London kind of working with everything here. Also, Merit, right, the new DPS passive in where you kind of keep that 30% or whatnot.
Yep.
It's not even really a factor here because he didn't even build up any ultimate on the Ashe. Backbone actually goes over to the main. Oh, it's another first pick.
That can't be happening. That cannot. I mean, like Jack mentioned, the Cheerios flying across the map there. Lep just perhaps positioning himself a little too aggressively here. Great disruptor shot. Lastro.
They force out that he had to use that. Yeah, he had to end up using that.
Big rampage. Lastro already taken down. Hardy getting in there. Now it's Dante's turn. Hardy and Landon going to be anti-healed here, and Landon going to be punished by Pelican if he can catch him, and so he does. The May's going to be a problem for Pelican, though he quickly heads upstairs. What's nothing to do with the endothermic blaster here. And the Outlaws finally get a defensive hold.
They had to use a lot to do it, though. I thought last show was as good as dead up there on the high ground, but he ends up with the rally, playing it perfectly around the corners, able to build up some health, allows Lep to come back into the fight as well. Gives the Outlaws a chance as now we see Merit with that overclock. This is his first ult of the second half, right? You have Backbone. Backbone's working towards his second. Sparker as well. Like, this has got to be impactful. And you think here, if you can force this fight in the open here, if you're London, you have this Blizzard. Like, that is and they have no support ults. That's a GG there.
Pelican has the dash there, no choice. Taken down by Sparker, though. The railgun caught him on the way up. That's huge. And yeah, maybe Backbone just lines that up for Sparker as the slowed Genji is suspended in midair a little longer than he otherwise would have been. And Merit's overclock gets nothing. You've waited an entire round for your ultimate and get absolutely Fanny Adams from it. Not good at all. Lastro going to be brought down, and there's the blue box of victory now as Dante just gets bounced around the backline. London playing with their food right now, but their time is about up for the Outlaws. Stunning stuff here, and Houston look completely listless. A nice little 2-0 start for the Spitfire.
They had like 3 minutes and 30 they finished this with as well.
This
Still
is speed
in the
running.
bank. So, man, a brutal start for the Houston Outlaws. But if you were wondering, like, hey, can the London Spitfire play these types of compositions and play it against some of the upper echelon teams here in the West? At least here against the Outlaws, it definitely looks so.
The Outlaws' woes continue here after a bit of a shaky last game. This one looks much, much worse. The Spitfire has shown us it's not just that standard London comp that they can find success on. Map number 3 is coming up real soon, and the Outlaws had better come up with something post-haste.
Let's freaking go, dude. Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh!
슛 디펜스로 나와.
슈?
I want to see chat.
Me too.
When you're on DPS.
Yeah, I'm saying now Korean chat, you know.
Oh yeah.
필량 1등은 뭐냐 DPS?
운동이 끊임없이 보고 있는 웅합교위를 와 진짜 나 제가 보여줘야 돼. 내가 봤을 때 옆팀에서
누구한테 보여준다고?
여기서 내가 리그에서 보여줬는데 내가 여기서 펜탁 찍은 거 이거를 그대로 보여줘야 돼. 내가 봤을 때
이번에 POTG 겐지들이 다 먹었어. 전 경기랑 전전 경기.
그만큼 겐지가 임팩트 있잖아.
그거 영향도 먹어야겠다.
아 나가 검 무거워. 무슨 소린지 알지? 검 무거워. 나가.
I'm a little nervous though. Packing 10 can tell me it's all gonna be okay. Deep breaths. Don't scream too loud, Chris. I don't want to hear you screaming.
Stop nervous.
If I hear like mid map, I'm gonna be angry.
She joined. She joined.
Hey, don't make me nervous, okay? Just play, okay?
Yeah. I'm used to 4v5.
Just
Don't
play.
worry.
손 예, 돈 라우드, 레이너.
Sure.
Specialist you, 레이너, okay?
Yeah, please don't loud.
Wait, I think I found the pocket pick. I'm gonna be real.
Can you shut up and just use Blade?
Don't tell me you're just playing.
Alright, let's do a mic check. Violet. Fan. Kalush. Kilo. Popper. Popper, no mouse.
Hunter's coming near me. Stop. Packing, stop.
If I allow to punch you guys, I want to punch you guys.
Ryan's gonna get rolled.
One doesn't he?
Let's. I can still talk, guys. I'm undercover.
Get out of here.
I'm gonna ask for pause so we can mute you, bro.
Okay, it's day one. Please. Already a pause. Come on, man.
I want to hit this random.
Mid round, we just started hearing the fan go off.
Wait,
What's going on?
our coach can talk.
I can still speak chatting, but I don't think that's allowed.
Can we get him out of here?
Yeah, I got you.
Look at us, we're such good boys. We even pause the game.
No, I don't want to hear the fan. That's the only reason.
Guys, it's really hot. It has to be on max. I can't do anything.
Alright, let's get him.
Please don't let me in.
Please don't let me into my zone. I just need some time on my own. All these people trying to get a conversation. You can conversate to that tone. My gut eyes on that throne, yeah. So I'm never alone, yeah. All these people trying to box me in. I'm in whether it's on, yeah. Now they ask where I'm at. Making hits that line back. I'm MJ, I'm 2-3, man. I just need some time back. I'm zoned in like defense. My life gone, no recess. But I live my best one, so I got no regrets. So I'm gone. Finally back at my home. I'm working like so much, they swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now, just leave it there, that tone. Ballin', can't beat me up, cause I'm back in my zone now.
your Houston Outlaws, you know, getting a 3-2 win against, you know, the Gladiators of all people in a bit of a strange manner. Have had a very odd start in this stage, right? Up and down stuff. The New York matchup was, well, I don't know, it was a bit confusing. And still, everybody had such faith in this 10-4 roster coming into this match that everyone except you, Matt Multi, expected the Outlaws to be pretty comfortable here. But it's been Spitfire from day one in this series.
Yeah, and it's got to be tough for Houston, right? You kind of see
tough
like
it is for Hugo right now, but still tough.
I mean, like
let me guess. Someone use the elevator.
Yeah, you know, it's too hot out, so you can't take him out on walks, so he's always on edge, and, you know, anybody moves outside the apartment, it's on site with Hugo.
Yeah, that guy. Oh, man. Well, listen, I wouldn't mind if the Outlaws showed a little bit of the energy that your canine friend is demonstrating.
Yeah, the Outlaws got to, when they see the London Spitfire on the map, it's got to be on site. They got to go.
Again, I think they've struggled a little bit, especially, and we've from the very beginning, I actually used Merritt as someone to watch. The matchup against Sparker being really crucial, but he's been on the receiving end of some more, you know, substandard situations, right? Getting picked by the Backbone Widow, the fabled Backbone Widow at the start of Paris. So that defense side, not look a great look, and that sort of snowballed out of control. So it's got to be on Dorado, where the Outlaws make some semblance of a comeback.
I think the Outlaws are a bit stunned by this as well. Like when we do like the player cam shots, right? And you're gonna have like the lineups, like the 5 and the 5. London, everybody is all smiles, joking around. Like the Outlaws, like they look in a tough spot today. Clearly, I think just kind of thrown off a little bit by how the first 2 maps have gone. And I don't even think it's like losing the first 2 maps per se. I think it's like in the fashion you lose those first 2 maps, right? Need a little bit of like a confidence pick-me-up here, right? Like on Dorado, like can you get off to a hot start? Can you kind of come out of a little bit of an extended break and know maybe get something going here at the beginning of this map to get some confidence rolling, right?
A good start here will make a big difference, no doubt about it. But the Outlaws, I'm pretty curious to see how they try and make use of Ash, if that's going to be what they come out of the gates with. We kind of discussed maybe what the theory is behind that. Look, in a meta that's been pretty homogenized, it's the only real point of difference that teams are demonstrating that gives us something to sort of base our discussion around. So that'll continue to be the case.
Ihisu ran it in map 1 yesterday against the Fuel on Busan. It was not good. They ran it in map number 2. And they ended up being able to take that one. It was Midtown, right, with some more high ground. And then on Gibraltar, actually kind of like forced them to switch to it, where Edison actually matched it, but then the Dallas Fuel started playing it way better. Where here, the London Spitfire have not had to like concede to like even match, right? They've just been able to play, you know, their game the entire time.
I mean, that fight was so telegraphed from Houston, they may as well have sent a written invitation ahead of time. I think the Spitfire had a decent amount of time to prepare for it, but after having sort of given up the high ground, I guess they make much more juicy targets of themselves there for the Outlaws to sort of pick and choose their way to engage. So, not a great start for the Outlaws, but that second fight they win much more comfortably. And still stands them in good stead here as they move through this first phase.
Yeah, they're going to need at least one more fight, though, here to be able to take this point as London marching back, no compositional changes. See Pelican getting up on the high ground. That's what you like to see, though. There. Yeah, the dynamite there. That's perfect.
Merritt, great pressure here, and Admiral doesn't get a chance to touch the ground here. This is what the Outlaws were looking for, ladies and gentlemen. First checkpoint snapped up pretty comfortably, and now they're well and truly on the way. The ultimate advantage are pretty significant when you look at the Dante and Hardy head-to-head. Only 30% for the entire round for Hardy.
And this is a type of map where, I know I kind of go back to the series yesterday, like Gibraltar, right? It was really a difference maker, the Ash, like lots of high ground. I think here on defense, you're going to see that, like, hey, maybe this is something that London eventually thinks about running or switches to. So they're going to take this high ground control here at the start.
The Outlaws don't really care if it's defense or offense. They'll play it either way. Nowhere near the same kind of one-shot potential, but there's a lot of chip damage that happens in this kind of metagame, enough that, you know, Ash can still capitalize on that to find a final blow. You see Backbone, chip damage just like that, right? Ash follows up quickly enough and that Genji is dead. Can't moving though. London a little unsure about how to engage. The Outlaws trying to outmaneuver here.
No, I think the Outlaws are trying to like bait them down because they have the rally and some other ultimates here to use. That'll be a blade off the rip, and ends up not working out in the Outlaws' favor. They're going to lose Lastro straight away.
And he was the only support with an ultimate, crucially. Now the Outlaws in a pretty compromising situation. They're caught inside this courthouse.
He doesn't have to use the rally, though, right? So Houston will be able to come back and have all 5 ultimates here. Hottie, like you mentioned, not really close to the Rampage, where maybe Pelican can go huge with this blade yet again.
I don't really care that the Outlaws don't use support ults there because London only used the blade. You know what I mean? Like, you win a fight so cheaply there. I think you take that 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, London
the
probably
Outlaws have a bit of work.
It's like kind of like reasonably decent for both teams, right? Like London needs to stop the bleeding, but then also the Outlaws, they made great progress and they hold on to their support ults.
Oh, okay. Rallier. Shout comes out in response, maybe because Sparker just hitting that rail provokes the Outlaws into making that decision. Bob really creates a lot of space here. Said unironically, I guarantee you. There's Backbone caught in the middle. Oh, Rampage catches 2. Soundbar's going to have to come out as a response there from Admiral. Landon already having used the rally. It's going to be overclock here for Sparker. But Pelican's blade, he can't get purchased. Backbone sends him packing, and the London Spitfire shut the Outlaws down. And you praise their old economy, Matt. You praise the fact that they saved them, but now they've blown them all.
Yeah, now we're going to be about even here on both sides as Dante will drop a little bit later, so will Lep, but won't be the biggest difference. So you're looking at the clock now, right? 2:30 at the top. You got Hottie going to have this Rampage. You think that's good enough to win a fight, right? With no support ults on the other side. That should be a fast fight win. You can then maybe generate a blade off of this if you don't really give them an opportunity to generate ultimates. Like, you get a win off that blade. Like, you're in a spot where you're looking at the Outlaws. You're just kind of like staring down the barrel. 2 lost fights here. And then you're looking at the clock. You may not have another great opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think you have the freedom to have 2 lost fights here at all. Hardy, Rampage. Oh, it's on to 4. I don't know how he managed to find a purchase on so many Outlaws players in an open part of the map like this, and yet there we have it. Backbone dropping him down, as you know, only he can. And that's that first of those 2 predicted lost fights.
That's exactly what I was talking about too, right? Where the fight happens so quick and it's so one-sided that the Outlaws, you know, they're not building up substantial ultimate charge there. So now you come back, what do? You can't really force anything here. You know that there's going to be a blade on the other side. And then Landon's probably going to end up getting his rally off of this. He may end up with an overclock. So you're in a fantastic spot if you're the London Spitfire at this time.
Here's that blade. Backbone was hoping to make a feint of it. Oh, Lep! He was caught way too far away from the rest of his team, but it doesn't look like there was any defensive utility available to the Outlaws anyway, which, again, was something, Matt, you pointed out and predicted. So there's those 2 lost fights, and we know now that that rings to the tune of a minute of lost time for the attackers.
And I think it's okay to lose fights. Like, it kind of happens, obviously, a lot with the teams. This is a little bit far up, but sure.
They get last right here. No, you can't be serious! Oh, Gracie flies forward and Lep is fell. Lastro was already low. We knew that after the axe swing came in, but you can't be letting this happen. That's 3 now in a row.
For me, it's the fashion in which you lose those 2 fights that is the real backbreaker, right? Because you lose them in such dominant fashion that it doesn't really give you an opportunity to build up like large chunks of ultimates on players to come back in those next fights. Now you have the overclock, you have Rally and Sound Barrier here. Lastro's got to use Rally to just get them out of the spawn. And you're not even forced to use anything on the Spitfire side.
I mean, you should perhaps. I guess London are just spawn camping here, so if they lose the fight, it's fine.
The carts
with both those support.
Somebody's on the cart now. So somebody's actually getting the cart moving. You're going to have another fight, though, here for the London Spitfire, right? With how far the cart's moved back. You're going to have a... Yeah.
This blade timing is actually really important. I want to see how long Pelican holds onto this. You probably should open with the rally here if you can. Save the beat if possible. Here it is, Rampage on the 4. You've got to beat now. Yeah, you can't just go for the rally instead. So Pelican gets to hold onto the blade a little longer, but they've lost Lastro. Sparker strikes first here. Pelican's blade comes out at the right time. He works around the sound barrier very well, but he's only found the 1 elimination here. There's going to have to be more than that. They're passing it a bit of space now. There's no one ready for the Outlaws to step up because Dante was down and... Yeah, look, it's a little bit of a Charles, but frankly, the Outlaws were not in a position to contest that realistically.
The difference ends up being, though, is Lastro has to use the rally to get them out of the spawn in the first place. Yeah. And then in that last fight, right, you have a nice Rampage from Dante, the sound barrier comes in, And then you think, oh, well, Pelicans got Blade, here we go. But they have the rally rolling as well, right? Where there's just so much sustain with those two big support ultimates plus Shout going. That Pelicans Blade, I think, gets one there. Like, probably best case scenario you could do.
Well, yes, it is best case, because if he gets 0, I guarantee you, if the Spitfire can open with Rally and then beat, he gets 0 from that Blade.
Yeah, potentially.
And I think that gets forced out. That big gets forced out because Dante hits a fat rampage. But, you know, losing Dante so early in the fight, you can see Lep was trying to contest, but you can't seriously contest without your JQ in this meta. So, fair enough. London there, I mean, the spawn camp was huge. I mean, Matt, winning that third fight, the one where Hardy, you know, looked like he got caught out, and then both the Outlaw supports just got blown up. That's really where that round was kind of, quote-unquote, lost for Houston.
Yeah, we'll see if the Outlaws can kind of bounce back here on D. So they don't even have to get... I mean, they pretty much have to get second checkpoint, right? It's, like, really close here for the London Spitfire to take this series in a 3-0 fashion. Like, that is a...
I mean, that's
a real good win for London if they're able to get it in that type of way. Yeah. So let's see. Are we going to see a TP up to the high ground yet?
Again. The Outlaws forced back here.
So now Sparker on the Ashe. Interesting.
Yeah,
maybe just like dynamite from the backside in the spawn, right? Yeah, you see a few players got hit with it.
Yes. Hardy, though, making sure working Dante Lastro down as well. This is very good. I think the Outlaws really hoping to do something we saw with those Winston comps, right? Play really close, go for something at spawn campy, but never mind. Too much losing a fight there. Still think that, yeah, this conversation about whether or not you want the Ashe is still developing, because Spark has obviously sort of made that switch, right, to Sojourn here.
Well, he just threw a dynamite out of the spawn because players are playing on the cart with their back to the Spitfire spawn.
I'm telling you, the heal pressure from that dynamite is actually insane against Lucio Brie. It's so good.
It's just so tough to not just get run down.
You can't pack
There's
fight.
just so much speed. You know? Yeah.
Lastro down. Hardy managed to catch him with the axe swing there. Hardy's looked incredible today on this Junker Queen. Houston, they have 2 Junker Queen options, but looks like neither of them are enough here. Great knife connection there, and oh my, this is, okay, look, Houston, it's one thing to lose that first fight. It's almost, you know, allowable. This second one, though, no.
Yeah, say though, it's hard probably to play this type of setup with the Ashe in this situation where, like, London is doing such a good job of being aggressive, right? And Sparker's always in the mix with, like, the Genji and the Queen in these fights, right? You can play a little bit, like, up close at the Sojourn.
It's closer range than the Ashe.
Yeah, like, her like, primary fires, like, kind of like this weird, like, 76, like, SMG type of thing with, like, the railgun. Yeah. That you can kind of, like, battle a little bit close range and then get these one-shot finishes right there. Backbone going for the kill until Merritt gets taken out.
Yeah, that
but you've given up the high ground. Like, the high ground is what you would want, I think, ideally with the Ashe, right?
Yeah, so how did the Spitfire convert their high ground control now into can't progress is the real question, because they need to win a fight outright to do so. Now, Backbone is back with a blade in his pocket. And there's no key support ultimates up for the Outlaws. That's where they're really going to get hurt, especially playing on the low ground now. They expose their whole formation to the Spitfire, and they've swapped places. Here's the Bob. It doesn't disrupt the blade, but Backbone's happy to spend that ultimate on getting rid of the Staunch Sentinel for the time being. Sparker finds a finish off there. It's going to be a sound barrier now. Admiral and Let both go for it at the same time. Backbone's taken down by Pelican's Blade here, but he's in a little bit of danger. Has to fold away a little bit. Chase from Hardy, looking to try and finish off the Genji, but wasn't expecting Pelican to be healed up as much as he was. And the Outlaws are going to get a huge, huge fight win here. I mean, I can't overstate how important that is for momentum here for defenders to win that fight.
Yeah, crucial there. As Backbone switched to the Widow there for a quick second, maybe just trying to pick one off. As now the spawn camp is going to be online here for the Outlaws. They got a rampage.
All right, again, they want to force the Spitfire into this small room.
Sparker is now on the Ashe, so he's moving away from that Sojourn too.
Well, maybe expecting another spawn camp attempt, so you know, having the dynamite available, realizing that the Outlaws were backing off, so they can switch back. Yeah, I'd love to get with players and discuss sort of that balance between those two DPS.
It's interesting because the Spitfire seem to like use the Ashe, obviously like in a defensive manner, right? To be able to like throw the dynamite, like back teams up. As they try and play like a little bit more deathball-y, but then want to really actually just play the Sojourn in deathballs, so to speak, themselves.
Backbone again at risk of getting picked off early there. Here's the shout. The Rampage catches 2. It's Landon will be the target. And Dante makes short work of him there, but an unexpected pick from Sparker. Felling Merit is a good start in this fight here for the London Spitfire. And it may have implications further down the line. Another elimination here, and the Outlaws now just have to throw themselves into this fight. They've lost 2, so they better make this count.
Can you play as close? Because you just have what, like, it looks like Pelican, Dante, and Lep there. You may have to back up.
There's no way.
Yeah, this might actually be pretty good for the London Spitfire, where they actually break this corner, because the Outlaws were looking really good with that aggressive spawn count.
We're going to have dual sound barriers coming up here, so get ready for some nonsense. Hardy taking a ton of chip damage here, as is Dante. But that cart's moving, that's the important part. A minute 57 on the clock here, it is. Shout, Blade. Pressure on Lana, but the sound barrier comes out in a timely fashion from Admiral. Pelican here just trying to get whatever damage he possibly can. Admiral under a lot of pressure, but it's Backbone to fall first without having a chance to pull the blade at all. Sparker again trading from a short-handed position. He gets rid of Dante. No Junker Queen here for Houston. That could be a problem. Bob, though, takes his pound of flesh, and Sparker's out of the picture. Pelican wants to stave off the Spitfire once more.
Yeah, it's interesting. They end up having to use the beat the Outlaws there a little bit earlier. They don't use the rally, but when the Rampage comes through, they actually use the Bob there to maybe stop some of the follow-up damage coming through. Lasher looks like he's split off to the side. They're going to try and focus him down.
Super out of position, and Pelican tried to help him, I suspect. That one also goes extremely awry. Just where the Outlaws look like they might be able to solidify this hold, it slipped through their fingers.
And it's not great, Mitch, because you're going to have the overclock, and you're going to have a blade here for the finish, potentially, for the London Spitfire. Where Lastro, he's going to have the rally, but he's going to get focused down so fast.
Lastro, arguably #1 brick from week 1 of the Summer Showdown, is going to be up against it here. Pops that rally straight away. Sparker looks to try and close the gap a little bit, seeding the high ground, even though he had the long-range ultimate available. Good chip damage, Dante going low, but who's Backbone looking for? It's left targeted. He's going to be able to boot the man back, but it's all about card presence right now with Lastro and Dante out of the picture. It's the Outlaws on their last legs before they too are cut out from under them by an imperious-looking London Spitfire. What a bounce back for them here in the Summer Showdown, and the Outlaws absolutely chokeslammed out of this game.
That was dominant. As dominant, is this a gritty?
That's the gritty, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw a little gritty after it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that just took the sail out of my wins for the deep thing. For the
yeah, you can't even speak properly.
I was so excited for London, and then
hit the gritty, baby.
So we got to get like the Sparker Hottie gritty lined up with the players in the spawn room on Circuit Royale playing the piano. We got to get that lined up for a video, but this is a great win for London. In all seriousness, they needed to bounce back, being able to play this type of composition against one of the better teams in the West, and not just play it, but like really dominate on it. I think they really had a great understanding of like how to cycle through their ultimates, always to have something up, at the right time. And I never felt like they were at a disadvantage in terms of like ultimate charge or kind of like what they had to do within fights. It seems like they came into like just about every fight in the perfect position to execute and had the upper hand, where the Outlaws, that's a tough series. A little bit of a wake-up call, maybe a little bit of a reality check.
Yeah, I mean, despite their victory, obviously, against the Glads, they are remain to look a little bit rudderless in this current metagame, and the London Spitfire have been able to show that they can really iterate on this and find success. It's smooth sailing for them so far. Let's have a look at our player of the match here for the Spitfire map. A couple of candidates over this particular series, but as was pointed out by the Fuel and the comms check, a lot of Genji's getting player of the match right now because of that impact, and Backbone definitely providing that in spades, Matthew.
And Backbone probably after the series just went over and gave Khan a big hug, like, I do not have to play Zenyatta anymore, thank you very much. So you can now go back really focusing on this, right, where you saw, his Genji I thought was really strong throughout the series, the ability to flex over to the Mei, right? The Mei made an impact on certain points in certain maps where London was able to get really good value out of it. I thought Backbone had a great series. I think sometimes he goes a little bit under the radar, right? We joke around like he's out there playing support, and that's fantastic. But after kind of the week 1-2 part of the season, he's been really good, whether it's on the Genji or Mei or some of these other picks. And I know Hottie's had a great year, and same with Sparker, but I think Backbone has really had a fantastic season overall.
I think what's great about the Spitfire, Matt, is they're in a position now where they can transpose some of the things that actually gave them success in previous metas and still make it work here. Now, I'm not saying they're forcing Reinhardt in like a Junker Queen situation, but when the map calls for it, they can identify that Mei really works for them there. And that's going to throw a lot of teams off who are maybe just trying to practice this sort of jokes, you know, this composition. They're not ready for stuff to be thrown in like that. Either way, it's been a great meta for those underdog teams that start to rise up, and the Spitfire look to be foremost of those. Let's see how they finish out this Summer Showdown qualifier, though. It's all for us for the time being. We're going to throw back, of course, to the crew in the truck to preview the rest of our matches going forward and take a fond look back over that very short stint between the Spitfire and the Outlaws.
Lost the Queen.
Yeah,
headshot. One, blade, let's go.
Yeah,
I mean, get in all the way. Break on point.
Big one.
Yeah, soldier shot.
Ninja fight.
Focus.
So.
Genji low. Genji.
Nice.
Let's go,
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Spring break, everybody. I'm here joined by the player of the match, Backbone from London Spitfire. Backbone, congratulations on the win. I think a lot of people predicted Houston Outlaws to win, but I mean, that wasn't the case. You guys completely dominated them. 3-0 victory for the London Spitfire. What gave you guys the edge against the Houston Outlaws today?
I don't know. We kind of just came in today saying that we're gonna have fun. I feel like we played Houston all year and they're really good. Like, we scrim them quite a lot. We usually lose to them in scrims too. They're a really good team, and it's like you gotta come into games against people like that with like a bit of a different mentality, that you can't start getting mad if it goes wrong. So we came in with thinking we'll have some fun, and then we kept winning, which is pretty fun as well. So it just kind of snowballed.
So would you say that, like, I mean, you just said that even in scrims, like, Houston's a really good team and you guys sort of struggled a lot, but was it the mentality just going in, like, thinking that you guys, like, you know, we are going to win? That winning mentality helped you guys a lot today against Houston Outlaws. Is that like was that the deciding factor for your win today?
I mean, I think the deciding factor today was just that we played better than them, to be honest. I don't know if they played that well today compared to how they normally would. Mindset's a big thing, but yeah, if you're hitting the shots and they're not, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I mean, I do also have to talk about your Genji today. I think you looked phenomenal on that Genji. Like, your Mei has been really good, but for me personally, I think your Genji, compared to like your previous matches when you played Genji, today you look completely different. Like, so were there any changes that you made coming into the second week? Were there anything that you specifically practiced on that Genji to look better?
Not particularly. I think the problem I had with Genji before is that sometimes I just get in my own head about it. So I'm just focusing on not doing that, I guess. And when I don't do that, I'm actually good at the hero. So, you know, we win games. It's basically that simple.
Yeah. I think I think it definitely showed as well. And finally, my last question. Not really a question, I just want to say, because back when we talked, I had an interview with you last time you guys won, and you promised me that London Spitfire will use Reinhardt at least once inside a match, and that didn't happen. You broke my promise. You broke our promise. So what happened? Yeah. Why no Reinhardt today?
I mean, we were just winning on the normal comp. No need to pull it out. No need to show the secret weapon if they're not playing well enough to bring it out. You know, there's no need for it.
Alright, so. So there was no need to pull out the secret Reinhardt weapon.
No
Got it. All right. Hopefully I'll get to see that Reinhardt soon from you guys.
Surely.
Yeah.
Surely,
I mean, yeah.
definitely.
Again, big congratulations. Definitely. All right. Well, I'll be on the lookout for that. Backbone, thank you so much for the interview, and again, big congratulations on the win, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
I told you not to trust our Preds.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We actually suck. Like, just straight up.
Got him.
And so does the Pick'ems.
And so does the
We're in
Houston
this
Outlaws,
together,
apparently.
fans. We gotta figure it out.
It does feel nice, actually, being on this end of being so wrong. Yeah, it's definitely a change from actual casting, I will say. Right. It's a nice new, fresh experience. It's great.
Yeah. Costa, you did hype up London going into this series, but you couldn't have possibly imagined like a 3-0 win.
I thought that it was in the wheelhouse that London Spitfire could win this match. So it wasn't a crazy thought. They have been playing better, but they seem to have leveled up again. They're playing with that same level of confidence that I talked about the Vancouver Titans with. And Houston Outlaws just didn't show up to play today. You know, Backbone even said in his interview, that is not the Houston Outlaws that we practice against. That's not the team we scrim against. Something along the line has caused an issue, and they had no real coordination or synergy with their ultimates. They were really just relying on like individual brilliance. And Jack, you actually said this when you were watching it, like it feels like they're playing as individuals and not really playing as a team and a coordination, in complete opposite to the London Spitfire, who are just working so well together. And when you have great individual performances like that from Backbone on the Genji, you have to start questioning how far the London Spitfire can go, because that was my question when I hyped them up in the pre-show of like, I believe that they're going to pretty easily sail into this Toronto event. The question is, are they going to be able to exceed their expectations and start getting those playoff wins?
Yeah, absolutely. Jack?
Yeah, that was crazy. Just
you kind of sounded like Matt right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, well, if I sound like Matt, sound like this, like New York, I'm from New York, yeah. Oh, that summer, yeah. I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, like, Another win for a British lad. That's what I'm excited for today. You know, we've already had one, me on the desk, and now Backbone 2. Maybe Funny Astro claims it for the Glads later on. But yeah, this is a very strange look for the Outlaws currently. I mean, yeah, Piggy's not on the roster anymore. They weren't playing him a whole bunch. They were playing mainly Dante on the Junker Queen. But man, I don't know. Like, this was like a different team. Like Backbone said, it just didn't feel like them at all. And it was those individual brilliances. We saw Pelican pop off with the blade a couple of times. That triple dash was actually really cool on the new map, but there was just, the puzzle pieces did not fit together today at all. It did feel rather strange. And whether that's something to do with the shot calling or something, it's just, I hope Outlaws can fix it or like sort it out, because we're very close to the actual tournament. Like, we're getting there.
Yeah. We're getting there. I mean, we're about halfway through the qualifier matches. That was Houston's 3rd out of 6 qualifier matches.
Yeah.
I do want to get back to the mental aspect of playing this kind of meta, though. It was obviously something you talked to Backbone a lot about, and Backbone mentioned, like, usually Houston Outlaws, they're a bit better. We came in with confidence, and he even referenced his own Genji play. I try to not overthink my Genji, because that's when I, make poor decisions. So, talking about this meta specifically, and Houston Outlaws not showing up today, Costa, as someone who played in the GOATs meta, I'm not saying this is GOAT, but it's a team synergy kind of meta. Did you, when you even practiced in the GOATs meta with these big team synergy kind of abilities, did you mention that your own performance fluctuates more because you have on days and off days? And
I'd actually say it wouldn't be as much on days and off days. I would say if the Houston Outlaws are playing this poorly, I would say they probably had a bad week of scrimming. And that can really affect you in these team synergy, because what happens is you lose confidence in the own way that you're playing as a team. So everyone starts questioning how they can do more as an individual, and you're always just trying to change things around. So it felt like they just lost their identity that we saw from them last week. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was more of a consistent theme from them, and they weren't confident heading into this match, in comparison to the complete opposite of London Spitfire, where Backbone and the entire team was having a good time. You saw them sitting in that lobby, they're getting ready, they're all laughing, they're having fun. That does translate into the lobby. Everyone has faith in each other. We just saw the Houston Outlaws go through some pretty significant roster moves, and the players speak out about that. For all we know, that can have some issue with them as a teamwork, and that synergy that shows up in the lobby.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? But you don't want to leave all doors open and see why the Houston Outlaws underperform like this. I'll say another one is that in a typical meta, it's pretty straightforward. Like, hey, our Winston's not creating enough space, or maybe took too much damage. We missed an ultimate. In this meta, it's hard to figure out specifically what goes wrong, because there are so many fluctual abilities, stuff like that, and maybe you're trying to do too much as a player, which leads to a ripple effect where you underperform as a team. Well, interesting to follow London Spitfire and Houston Outlaws moving forward. Coming up next, it's the biggest one of the day, arguably. It's going to be the San Francisco Shock against the LA Gladiators. Shock, we just can't speak about it enough, because honestly, it is a major milestone. One win away from tying Vancouver Titans' regular season win streak record of 19 wins in the 2019 season. The LA Gladiators, they struggled a bit so far in the Summer Showdown. Do you believe this to be a genuine 50-50 matchup, or do you think Shock should be the hands-on favorite going into this one?
I think, for now, Shock is definitely both are the favorites right now, because, I mean, it's regular season, they haven't lost a single match, and also Gladiators right now, from what we've seen, they seem to be struggling a little bit. Of course, I do think acquiring Happy, and Happy might come in to sort of
interesting
improve
to see if we see him.
Yeah, if we do see him, I think it could definitely help out the Gladiators. But for now, I think San Francisco Shock. In the regular season, I think it's just too big.
They're pretty large. I think it's pretty tough, because speaking about mental blocks, Gladiators have not had a good time over the last couple of weeks. And then you go against the Shock, who is still undefeated in the regular season. That is a massive hurdle to climb over. They definitely have the backroom staff to kind of handle that situation, but I don't know, man. The Glads just, they're shocking me. You're saying this is the best of the day, and it very well could go to a map 5, but if the Shock just continue to play the way they've been playing, the Overwatch?
My counterpoint, and the hopium that I want to give to the Gladiators fans, is that I think individually they were making mistakes. Funny Astro and Skew just did not have good series in their opening weekend. That's what led them to them going 0-2. They don't have to lean on the Shujin anymore. I think that happy diff might be seen instantly. And for all we know, they can have that honeymoon period when you add a player that sort of fills a hole, everyone else sort of levels up and steps up from that point. So this could be the resurgence of the Gladiators. It'll be really interesting to see how they perform after such a short turnaround of a player.
Yeah, and if nothing else, we all predicted the San Francisco Shock, so that could be a bit of a clue as to where we're going next result-wise. Anyway, that's going to do it for the preview of this upcoming match. Next, let's throw it over to our casters. Lemon keeping a leg day. I gotta apologize for my pronunciation of quadriceps. You know, not the best last week. So I'll simply ask you guys, what do you prefer to be called? Because I can't do all this silly name calling from now on.
I don't know, leg day. What are you thinking? I know people call us a lemon day, but I'm not gonna repeat what we call each other either, because this is not friendly for broadcast. So.
Oh, now I have to know. Now you have to.
Now I think that on my contract, my official name is British Caster number 2.
Oh, so. Not Jaws. Yeah, the not Jaws nickname you got. So great. Yeah, we'll say we're PP Gang because both our last names end with P. So if people can't tell us apart, then that's just what we are. So, yeah.
Can I make a case for the Gladiators while we're here? While I've got all of these shock predators? We last week, Gladiators played 10 maps and 4 of them were control. They lost every single one. That's 66% of their maps that they lost, but all control. And I think that means that if they figured out how to use the double speed boost in the intervening time, that we might see a much more competitive Gladiators, because they're not just automatically losing 2 maps off the bat. So I think that this might be a little bit closer if we see less bad control performance from Glads to open up.
Just shoot speed boost. Just crazy.
They don't believe
That's crazy. Never thought of that.
Well, you say that, but Funny Astro is always in the back line, so maybe he wasn't speed boosting his team.
Yeah, it's just himself. Yeah, just speed boosting
himself.
How's he got those good stats?
Yeah.
Speeding into the back line himself.
All right, there you go. We're gonna.
I'm sorry for him.
We're looking forward to this match. So.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll take him away now. We'll go into the match and see if the desk will be 0-2 or today, because they're all pretting the shock, and look how well that started off today. I honestly don't know what I would pred for this one.
I mean, it's been a bad tournament for Pick'ems, let's be real. Like, last week was a dumpster fire when it comes to Preds. This week has not fared much better to begin with. Lemon, we've got to look at the starting roster, of course, because we have ourselves 2 star-studded rosters, and we're opening up with the San Francisco Shock. And, of course, when you talk about the Shock, you've got to talk about the star rookie on this roster. Proper game into this week with some amazing Genji stats, and only reinforced them in their previous match where Proper was getting ace after ace, and that led to a lot of little happy dances.
Of course, yeah, I like the happy throw to, but that's the other team. But when it comes to the Proper versus Genji, I mean, this is the matchup I'm looking forward to. At number 1, though, is Kevster when it comes to being at the top of the rankings in hero damage, but right behind him, barely a gap of 200 damage on average, is Proper's Genji, both having almost the same amount of time. Maybe in previous metas, Proper would lean a little bit more into the Tracer, but really both of these players are vying for their individual awards, whether Rookie of the Year, MVP, whatever it may be. This is going to be the most exciting series of the day.
Indeed it will be, Lemon. Let's have a look at the 0-2, but 2-0 when it comes to titles gained in Overwatch League this season, LA Gladiators. And of course, he's so fresh out of the oven that we don't even have a Gladiators picture of him yet, Lemon. Happy is in.
At least not a picture not in purple. Yep, he's been picked up and found a new home. And I was asking if Ryan was gonna have another upper deck to put on his face today. Last time it was Jake, and now he's got a new one. But yeah, when kind of talking to Gladiators, like, why Happy? Aren't they already stacked as it is? But Happy brings a whole new level of Sojourn play, especially with Patapan having his wrist injury. Gladiators were looking for someone to truly dominate and be as aggressive as the rest of the team is on Sojourn, and Happy is just that. And he gets to debut in the very first match, so no warm-up time. Happy's in.
I mean, it might be a little bit of a nothing burger, but this is also Happy's second match in this meta against the San Francisco Shock. He previously played it with the Washington Justice, and that was alarmingly close. Admittedly, last week, San Francisco Shock still had a couple of holes in their plans that really needed to be tightened up, and it seems from their previous match this week that San Francisco Shock have had some very productive scrims. On the other side, though, definitely looking over towards Reiner and Skewed. To play more as a unit this week, I think that they were fairly easily exploitable, and we saw pretty high deaths from Reiner from these two splitting up now and then.
And just looking at, qualifying for the Summer Showdown, which we usually never question if these two teams will make it. But yeah, Gladiators are 0-2. They don't even know if they're gonna make it yet. Even the devs kind of predicted that you have to get at least like 3 wins. And after this match, if Gladiators don't win, they only have 3 matches left, and it's against Paris, Atlanta, and Toronto. So do you really want a chance having to guarantee a flawless win against all of those teams? Gladiators really need a win today, while Shock are undefeated.
Yeah, of course, this is a standalone tournament, our Summer Showdown, going down in Toronto. Tickets now available, Smile. And that means for Los Angeles Gladiators, their previous record, it means nothing when it comes to qualifying for this tournament. Speaking of records, San Francisco Shock are on the precipice of having, or at least equaling, the longest ever season record for wins, previously set by the Vancouver Titans in 2019. Los Angeles Gladiators want to stand between this iteration of the San Francisco Shock and glory. And for me in particular, I'm watching to see how Gladiators manage their shouts here, in particular because movement is so important in the first point of control, and getting that better positioning to try and force out resources from your opponent.
Yeah, and when it comes to this point of Boost on Sanctuary, it's so open. You have these 4 pillars you can kind of dance around, including the central drum. It kind of acts as your half of the ice if we're playing hockey here. And you can already see that Shock have been taking control of the mini-pack side on the opposite. Still a very open area where they can set up Kilo. On top of the drum throw is Proper, who's taking some damage, but left alone was Kilo, who found a charged up shot into Funny Astro. Without that speed, Gladiators are not left with a great engage tool besides the shout from Reiner, who might want to save that for a disengage, but as Proper approach to deal with Reiner without the speed, he gets axed on, and Shock are down 2, Gladiators without a tank. But Shock still managed to get the cap out through all of that.
Yeah, Funny Astro has returned. Kalush has to expend the shout here for the additional health, and now it's going to be a quick disengage for additional movement speed. San Francisco Shock are coming back, but just as quickly, Lemon, Kalush is sent to the graveyard.
And Kilo's already have to use a shift jump, and that was in response to Kevster starting his dive. And that's what Kevster wants to do, is just either harass Proper or Kilo, or coalesce onto the tanks and supports when Gladiators make that call. There's so many choices, and it's all about coordination. Speaking of which, everyone rallying behind Skewed and this ult, give them a bit of extra overhealth, and Kevster is dangerously low. That is a win condition Gladiators are hoping for. Soundbearing engage, though, from Shock to finish off this fight, as there was only 3 or maybe 4 members of the Gladiators even left, which might mean a huge play for Kevster in the next fight.
And I can't believe it, but that was legitimately a Lucio survival diff against Funny Astro, who's only 70% of the way to ultimate right now, because he's been picked twice by Kilo. That's such an important pick to get as bottom, because for a second that your team loses for Lucio, you no longer have control of these engagements, because you're trying to save your commanding shout to save your team when they get rushed on. But San Francisco Shock, they have 2 speed boosts that are up at all those moments. Now Gladiators, can they extract value from this blade? Because Violet's uses barrier.
Well, Happy's using Overclock, so as soon as Kevster gets people low or vice versa, they can work together to just shred the Shock apart, which, I mean, Gladiators are doing just that. Now, Kilo overclocked himself, but that only takes care of Kevster, and he kills Happy too, but no matter how much deadlifting Kilo is doing, he doesn't have any friends to even go to the point.
Kilo having a series though, Lemon, that is that's a scary proposition for the LA Gladiators, because when the San Francisco Shock have both of their DPS in carry mode, it's incredibly hard to try and go even with them. That's why you've brought in someone like Happy, who's a world-renowned hit scan talent. Funny Astro, he has an advantage on the sound barrier, but the question is, does he want to get aggressive and tempo rush into San Francisco Shock, or wait to try and deal with a threat Kaluj is going to present with the Rampage?
Yeah, it kind of depends how good your ult tracking is. If Kalush is very close, I would definitely want to keep the sound barrier for that. But because how open this map is, you can try to position away from it. And that's what Shock tried to do. They all spread apart so that Reiner's Rampage only hits Kalush and Kilo. And they're playing and Shock are playing hyper passive to just heal back up so that Rampage didn't buy anything. As Gladiators use the sound barrier on top and have only netted themselves one pick, but this is a big knife pull on the Kalush, and that's a 5-on-3 for Glad. As with this fight win, should be able to even things up.
I like that Reiner's being pretty patient with his knife pulls as well, not instantly using them the second that they get embedded, giving a moment for Kalush to start disengaging so that that momentum can be stopped by the pull afterwards, and potentially a better angle when Reiner starts to move around that target Junker Queen. Now, though, coming into this fight, San Francisco Shock have a Rampage, and that's a huge advantage. So Gladiators, they aren't in a great position to win this fight. What they need to do, though, is not get this point capped away from them too early.
Oh, there's the speed, the Rampage right into the Gladiators. It only hits Funny Astro and Happy. Skewed's rally was still into effect, but Funny Astro just got finished off by Proper, and that's how quick he is with these executions. Now you got a queen-on-queen action on the point, and Reiner is gone, so Glads won't be able to hold on to the point.
But critically there, Gladiators didn't lose the point too early. Now they're going to be able to go into the next fight with a couple of tools, namely the Blade from Kevster, but it is going to be answerable by Violet. The question here is, can Los Angeles Gladiators move fast enough onto Violet, who's likely going to be playing closer towards the backline, to try and force an Ajax beat?
Oh, there is the shout and the immediate collapse on the Reiner with the barrier engaged from Violet, and Proper is cutting off the ankles of everyone from Glads who are running past him. Funny Astro still got the touch. Here's Kevster with the Blade, but he's got no one else around him. And that is the end of that. What a first round, though. 100-94 for the Shock.
I love that Shock there realized that the only way they don't really win that fight is if Violet somehow doesn't get the sound barrier off. So they actually make a really early engage, using that commanding shout to give an extra buffer of health to Violet while he's casting the sound barrier to make sure he can't be killed during that cast. Then it's simply washing over LA Gladiators like a wave, and Gladiators don't really have too much room to start disengaging there because they're starting to hit walls. They are starting to be moved into their own territory where you're going back to spawn one way or the other. San Francisco Shock, they've done a really good job in these opening fights of hunting down Funny Astro and exploiting his more aggressive playstyle. And maybe Funny Astro here needs to be much more mindful about peaking Kilo.
We'll see now on mecha-based, the battle for the high ground. Skewed playing pretty far forward. Usually Brigidas want to be as passive as they can. You go for the whip shot, use the shield bash to only really disengage, never go for the Junker Queen, especially without the stun in Overwatch 2. Proper's already dashed up in the back, has found Happy, and the ship jump not even being baited out. But as the Gladiators went back to peel for Happy, Reiner just took way too much pressure, and without that tank, there's just free damage into the back line. A Shock want to farm for more ult charge, and with that, we'll get the point cap first.
At the start of the match, I was talking about how I wanted Reiner and Skewed to be far more in sync than they were last week, and that's a huge example of a desynced Brig and Junker Queen duo. Skewed, like you said, moving back, having to peel for Happy after Proper gets super aggressive, and that isolates Reiner. Proper's creating mental space by distracting Skewed.
Let's see if Glads can even make it through this choke. Kevster does. He might still have the dash, but he's getting booped to Narnia, and I think that boop just guaranteed Proper the kill. And with this 5-on-4, Shock are just not going to let go of this choke, and so much so that Proper is dashed into this room, which is super dangerous, and he's even gonna Blade. I mean, Shock could have just held the choke and got free time, but this Blade is not going to get much when Gladiators are this close to spawn.
Reiner resetting off the edge. I might have actually made him die more slowly than if he had just taken the Blade. Of course, dying to Blade damage doesn't grant ult charge, so Reiner's just like, you'll never take me alive kind of energy. Happy almost has the overclock here, and admittedly is far outpacing Kilo, but still will have to try and carve through Finn, who has the rally available. And Finn here can take a tempo rally because he's outpacing Skewed significantly.
Shock let go of the choke, so Gladiators almost made it through the bridge, and Proper is just only focusing down Kevster, but that means free space for Happy and the overclock. But Shock hit on the high ground, so not the greatest of LOS for Happy to get actually any kills with. So Gladiators have the high ground, Shock disengaged to the point, 70%, and without Finn, Shock have to make a decision. Do they want to use the barrier to conserve their control? But the decision is made too late, and not at all, as Gladiators will finish off the fight and get their first few percentage points of the round.
That kind of dive from Happy is very much a veteran versus rookie kind of dichotomy, where the veteran's like, I've been playing Overwatch League for like 4 years now. I don't choke in these scenarios. I'm going to try and intimidate this rookie player. And admittedly, Kilo doesn't hit the shots right there, but it is a 2 versus 1. I love the plays for intimidation there from Happy, as Kilo's actually hiding out on this off angle, ready to crunch in afterwards. But Shocker having a little bit of time to figure out how they want their rotation to work at the moment, maybe contemplating what ultimates Gladiators have to try and engage this fight, such as the Blade in the hands of Kevster. Violet's going to have to beat that.
So Glads think everyone from Shock is through, and the sound bear from Violet hits, but not before the Kevster Blade has already struck 2. And Shock, meanwhile, didn't even have Kilo in this fight, because Kilo was trying to take an off angle, or at least come out of the door late, even just sit in the doorway to get picked. So Kilo not being in that fight made a huge difference in the damage levels, as Glads will continue to hold the choke.
And Gladiators there, they did lose Kevster, but that's the risk they ran when they take a Blade without any support ultimate behind it, because Funny Astro saving his own barrier, knowing that it needs to be used to deal with Kaluj and the Rampage, which is going to be the main offensive tool.
Off angle from Kilo on the bridge with the overclock, but again, it's so tough to hit on this high ground with those 2 barriers there. And besides the 1 kill, Shock can still work with this though. 5 on 4, they'll get the quick flip on the point, meaning 80% plus is coming down to last fight that Shock need to win, and they have Rampage.
This is a huge take. Oh, proper falls early though. Skewed. The whip shot. Demon gets rid of him, and now it's Rampage versus Rampage.
And Reiner's trying to dodge the one that just came his way from Kaluj, and that's 3 hit from Glads. Funny Astro keeps the barrier up. Meanwhile, Gladiators conserve their Rampage, and they got the point back, which means this choke push is going to be difficult for the Shock against that ult.
Okay, great restraint there from Reiner to not use the Rampage when it was going to be last fight. San Francisco Shocker now down on a major tool, and they're going to have to try and break into Gladiators' own territory with no tools to do it. The Rampage could take us to a 3rd and final stage of Busan.
Oh, this has to be big, and it does. Finn and Kaluj. Violet finished off by the Happy overclock, and all damage is raining down on the Shock as the Gladiators have a flawless team kill.